Culture of Estonia. Published December the 8th, 2017. Special characters are denoted as follows. And. Left and right parentheses. The culture of Estonia combines an indigenous heritage, represented by the country's Finnic national language Estonian, with Nordic cultural aspects. The culture of Estonia is considered to be largely influenced by Germanic culture, having grown out of it. Due to its history and geography, Estonia's culture has also influenced by the traditions of the adjacent areas Baltic Finns, Baltic Germans and Slavs, as well as by cultural developments in the former dominant powers, Sweden, Denmark and Russia. Traditionally, Estonia has been seen as an area of rivalry between Western and Eastern Europe on many levels. An example of this geopolitical legacy is an exceptional combination of multiple nationally recognized Christian traditions, Western Christianity, the Catholic Church and the Estonian Evangelical Lutheran Church, and Eastern Christianity, the Orthodox Church. The symbolism of the border or meeting of East and West in Estonia was well illustrated on the reverse side of the 5 krone note. Like the mainstream cultures in the other Nordic countries, Estonian culture can be seen to build upon ascetic environmental realities and traditional livelihoods, a heritage of comparatively widespread egalitarianism arising out of practical reasons. See freedom to roam and universal suffrage, and the ideals of closeness to nature and self-sufficiency. Part 1. Arts. Part 1. Arts. Chapter 1. Literature. Though the written Estonian language could be said to have existed since Jacob Johann Koller translated the New Testament into Estonian in the 18th century, few notable works of literature were written until the 19th century, which saw the beginning of an Estonian national romantic movement. This prompted Friedrich Robert Fullmann to collect Estonian folk poetry, and Friedrich Reinhold Kreutzwald to arrange and publish them as Kellaveepoeg, the Estonian national epic. That era also saw the rise of other poets and novelists who wrote in Estonian, notably Lydia Koidula. After Estonia became independent, there was a movement of modernist writers, most famously Jan Kross. The Second World War prompted a repression of national interests. Literature in modern Estonia is in a healthy state, with detective stories in particular enjoying a boom in popularity. Part 1. Arts. Chapter 2. Music. Despite its relatively short history of art music, Estonia today is well respected for its musicianship, with the quality education of classical musicians having produced a high proportion of world-class conductors and singers. Estonian art music came to the forefront as a part of the national romantic movement. Modern Estonian popular music has also received attention abroad, especially on the rock and metal scenes, with bands such as Vanilla Ninja and Metsatool, Curly and composers as Avopart gaining international acclaim. Part 1. Arts. Chapter 3. Visual Arts. The Art Museum of Estonia is the main national museum of visual arts, and has a large collection of Estonian art on permanent display. It was founded on November 17, 1919, but it was not until 1921 that it got its first permanent building, the Kadriorg Palace, built in the 18th century. Today the palace is used to display foreign art while a new purpose-built museum houses the main branch of the museum, called Kumu. Some of the more famous Estonian painters include Johann Koller, Ants Lakemaa, Paul Rood, Evald Okas, Christian Rood and Konrad Magi. Part 1. Arts. Chapter 4. Theatre. The theatre of Estonia dates back to 1784, when August von Kotzebue founded an amateur theatre company in Tallinn. Most of the plays at the time were comedies for the amusement of the local Baltic German nobility. In 1809, a professional theatre company was established with its own building in Tallinn. The repertoire was mostly in German, but plays in Estonian and Russian were also performed. After centuries of the serfdom that the native Estonian population had fallen into since the Livonian Crusade, serfdom was finally abolished in Estonia in 1816. The first native Estonian musical society, Vanemuine, was established in 1865. Lydia Koidalas, the cousin from Saaremaa, in 1870, staged by the Vanemuine Society, marks the birth of native Estonian theatre. The Vanemuine Society was headed by August Weira from 1878 to 1903. In 1906, a new building was erected for the society, and Carl Menning became director of the theatre company. Plays by Western writers such as Henrik Ibsen, Gerhard Hauptmann, Russian Maxim Gorky, and Estonians August Kitzberg, Oskar Lutz and Edward Wild were staged. The Estonia Theatre is an opera house and concert hall in Tallinn, Estonia. It was built as a national effort led by Estonian society in 1913, and was opened to the public on August 24. At the time, it was the largest building in Tallinn. In 2004, there was 20 theatres in Estonia. 46% of the urban population and 40% of rural population visited theatres in 2009. Part 1, Arts, Chapter 5, Cinema and Broadcasting. The film industry in Estonia started in 1896, when the first moving pictures were screened in Tallinn. The first movie theatre was opened in 1908. The first local documentary was made in 1908 with the production of a newsreel about Swedish King Gustav V's visit to Tallinn. The first Estonian documentary was created by Johannes Paasuki in 1912, followed by the short film Karujat Panumaal, Bear Hunt in Panumaa. In 1914, the first full-length feature film was made in 1924, Shadow of the Past, directed by Konstantin Muska. Theodor Lutz, Nerdgotkad. Young Eagles. 1927 is generally regarded as the cornerstone of Estonian cinema. In the 1960s, the story of Prince Gabriel, by Estonian writer Edward Bornho, was turned into a movie script by Avo Volton. Grigory Kromanov was named as the director of Vimri Laikvia, The Last Relic, released in 1969 by Tallinn Film. In 1997, the Estonian Film Foundation was founded by the Estonian Ministry of Culture. In 2007, about 10 feature films were made in Estonia, notably Sugisball, 2007, by Veiko Anpu, receiving, among other awards, Best Director at the Thessaloniki Film Festival and International Film Festival Bratislava, and the Venice Horizons Award at the 64th Venice International Film Festival. Georg, 2007, by Peter Sim, is a movie about the life of legendary Estonian singer Georg Ots. The most successful Estonian animation director has been Priit Paun, winner of Grand Prize at the Ottawa International Animation Festival in 1998, for Porgandai 2. Night of the Carrots. Estonian television. Eesti Televisioon, or ETV, is the national public television station of Estonia. Its first broadcast was on July 19, 1955, and it celebrated its 50th anniversary on July 19, 2005. Part 1, Arts, Chapter 6, Architecture. The architectural history of Estonia mainly reflects its contemporary development in Northern Europe. Worth mentioning is especially the architectural ensemble that makes out the medieval old town of Tallinn, which is on the UNESCO World Heritage List. In addition, the country has several unique, more or less preserved hill forts dating from pre-Christian times, a large number of still intact medieval castles and churches, while the countryside is still shaped by the presence of a vast number of manor houses from earlier centuries. Part 2. Education. The history of formal education in Estonia dates back to the 13th to 14th centuries, when the first monastic and cathedral schools were founded. The first primer in the Estonian language was published in 1575. The oldest university is the University of Tartu, a member of the Coimbra group, which was established by the Swedish King Gustav II Adolf in 1632. In 1919, university courses were first taught in the Estonian language. Today, education in Estonia is divided into general, vocational and hobby education. The education system has 4 levels, which include the preschool, basic, secondary and higher education. A wide network of schools and supporting educational institutions has been established. The Estonian educational system consists of state and municipal, public and private educational institutions. There are currently 589 schools in Estonia. Bengt Gottfried Forselius, ca. 1660 to 1688, was the founder of public education in Estonia, author of the first Estonian language ABC book, and creator of a spelling system that made the teaching and learning of Estonian easier. Part 3. Way of life. Part 3. Way of life. Chapter 1. Historical aspects. The area of modern Estonia has historically been inhabited by the same people as today, mostly speakers of Estonian, but some minorities, such as Russians, have immigrated more recently. Before the Great Northern War, Estonia was considered as on the periphery of the Swedish Empire, then it was incorporated into the Russian Empire, and later the Soviet Union. Although it was ruled at times by both Sweden and Russia, and while the Baltic Germans who governed Estonia enjoyed considerable autonomy with the administrative language being German, the indigenous population retained their native language and culture. The formation of a more defined Estonian cultural identity in the modern sense was accelerated in the 19th century, during the period of overall national romanticism and nationalism in Europe. Support from the German-speaking Estophiles in upper strata of Estonian society for a separate Estonian identity led to the Estonian Age of Awakening. Part 3. Way of life. Chapter 2. People. Today, Estonian society encourages equality and liberalism, with popular commitment to the ideals of the welfare state, discouraging disparity of wealth and division into social classes. The Protestant work ethic remains a significant cultural staple, regardless of its decline during the Soviet Union era, and free education is a highly prized institution. The traditional occupation of Estonians, like most Europeans, has been agriculture. Until the first half of the 20th century, Estonia was an agrarian society, but in modern times, Estonians have increasingly embraced an urban lifestyle. In 2013, the main export of the second largest town of Estonia, Tartu, is software. Nonetheless, many Estonians maintain a fondness for a rural lifestyle close to nature, and it is a common custom to visit a summer cottage in the countryside during vacations. Part 3. Way of life. Chapter 3. Family structure. Estonian family life is nowadays centered around the nuclear family. Members of an extended family typically live apart, and youths seek independence and typically move from their parents' residence around the age of 20. The divorce rate is close to 60%. Estonia has one of the greatest percentages of single parents in Europe. The average percentage of single parents in Europe is 13%. 2009. While in Estonia in 2000, 19% of the families with children under 18 had only one parent. In 2006, the percentage fell to 16%. The decline may be affected by the overall decline in birth rate. Same-gender relationships are legal, but the legislation does not support same-gender marriages. In Soviet Union, same-gender relationships were illegal, resulting a gay intolerant attitude in majority of people who were born in the Soviet Union. In 2013, younger people tend to be more tolerant to same-gender relationships than their parents. Part 3. Way of Life. Chapter 4. Festivities, Holidays, and Traditions. Estonian holidays are mostly based on the Western Christian calendar and Protestant traditions. Notable among these is Vaanapäev, the Estonian midsummer, which involves seeking one's way to non-urban environments, burning large bonfires, Vaanilok, and participating in the drunken revelry of Vaaniotu. Part of the Vaaniotu tradition is that almost near the morning, when the bonfire Vaanilok has burned off and only ashes are glowing, a component of Estonian traditional food, potatoes, are dug into the ground, right under the ashes, into the remains of the bonfire. After a few hours, when the potatoes have been cooked under the glowing ashes, the potatoes are dug up, peeled and eaten, while they are still hot. The midsummer traditions also include different versions of pairing magic, such as collecting a number of different kinds of flowers and putting them under one's pillow, after which one is meant to see one's future spouse in one's dreams. Another Vaaniotu-related tradition is the seeking of bugs called Vaanius. The Estonian Christmas, Jilid, is generally in line with the Northern and Central European traditions of Christmas trees, Advent calendars, and traditional meals, involving a number of dishes that are typically only eaten on Christmas. Christmas is the most extensive, appreciated, and commercialized holiday in Estonia. The holidays start from December 23rd and continue through Christmas Eve, 24th, and Christmas Day, 25th. In schools and in many workplaces, vacation continues until New Year's Day. Estonian Independence Day is the 24th of February and a national holiday. Part 3. Way of Life. Chapter 5. Food and Drink. Historically, the cuisine of Estonia has been simple peasant food, which today is influenced by many countries, thus including many typical international foods. The most typical foods in Estonia are black bread, herring and sour cream, pork, potatoes and milk-related products. Estonians themselves have considered blood sausage, verivurst, and sauerkraut, hapakapsas, as the typical Estonian foods, but these are mostly eaten during Christmas. Part 3. Way of Life. Chapter 6. Estonia as a Nordic country. Many Estonians consider themselves to be Nordic rather than Baltic. The term Balts does not apply to Estonians. The Estonian language is closely related to the Finnish language, not to the Baltic languages, and Estonians, as an ethnic group, are a Finnic people. The northern part of Estonia was part of medieval Denmark during the 13th to the 14th centuries, being sold to the Teutonic Order after St. George's Night Uprising in 1346. The name of the Estonian capital, Tallinn, is thought to be derived from the Estonian Taanilinn, meaning Danish town. See Flag of Denmark for details. Parts of Estonia were under Danish rule again in the 16th to the 17th centuries, before being transferred to Sweden in 1645. Estonia was part of the Swedish Empire from 1561 until 1721. The Swedish era became colloquially known in Estonia as the good old Swedish times. Swedish Ambassador Mr. Dag Hartelius' speech on the Estonian Independence Day, the 24th of February 2009, where he considered Estonia a Nordic country, gathered a lot of attention in the country and was widely considered as a great compliment. Additionally, the Foreign Trade Minister of Finland, Alexander Stubb, has been quoted saying that Estonia is a distinct Nordic country. Beginning from the 14th century, Parts of Estonia's northwestern coast and islands were colonized by ethnic Swedes, who later became known as the Estonian Swedes. The majority of Estonia's Swedish population fled to Sweden in 1944, escaping the advancing Soviet army. There are many words in Finnish and Estonian that are spelled exactly the same and pronounced almost the same way, but have totally different meanings. Many jokes, including derogatory ones, are based on the differences of the meanings of the words. Both Finns and Estonians tend to create and understand those jokes. However, Finnish and Estonian are sufficiently different languages that it is not possible for a native speaker of one of the languages to speak nor sufficiently comprehend the other language without explicitly learning the other language. Finns tend to have difficulties pronouncing the Estonian letter O, and Estonians tend to get revealed to Finns by their Estonian accent. For some reason, probably due to the greater amount of loan words and expressions from other languages, native Estonians, who have not learned Finnish, tend to comprehend and acquire Finnish more easily and native Finns comprehend Estonian. In 2005, Estonia joined the European Union's Nordic Battle Group. This recording is a derivative work from Wikipedia. For more information, please visit www.frogcast.org.